All right, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you guys are joining us from. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday and week so far. Just to make sure that everyone can see and hear us, find the chat and let us know where you guys are joining us from today. That way we'll know that we are good to go and you guys can see and hear us. We have an awesome webinar planned for you guys today, and we're going to dive into that in just a moment. But if this is one of the first times or the first time that you are attending one of our online events, welcome. We at SEO Ranking hold our webinars, onboarding events, and roundtables to share some insightful and actionable insights with the SEO community, help you guys make the most of SEO rankings tools, and help hopefully give you something to walk away with, some value to walk away with that you can use to increase the traffic and the performance of your website in search. Today, I'm your host, Andrew, and I'm part of the content marketing team over at SEO Ranking. And today I am joined by Sumit Gimire, founder and head of SEO at Outpace SEO, and also by his colleague, Chad Leonard. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us and doing this with us. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to share with us. Before I give the word to our guest experts, I want to say a couple of words about SEO Ranking in case you guys are brand new to the platform or haven't heard about it. We have over 30 tools designed for SEO and digital marketing for people of regardless of your skill level. You could be a newbie, and we have a lot of different information for you guys to help you beat that learning curve, SEO learning curve. Plus, we have a lot of data for those professionals that need to get as much information as they possibly can. In terms of the US, we have one of the biggest databases in terms of keywords and domains. So we do a lot to update it on a monthly basis. So this number is not something finite; it grows all the time. And before I give the word to our experts and guests for today, just wanted to show you guys once again that anything that you want to achieve in SEO ranking can in SEO in Google or any other search engine, we have everything to cover you guys. Let me just quickly check the chat, see that everything is going fine. Yeah, I see that people are joining us from all over the world. This is great. From Belgium, New York, Portugal, Canada. This is great. So without any further ado, I'm going to give the word to our guests from Outpace SEO, Chad and Sumit. Thank you guys for doing this with us. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for the introduction. We really appreciate it. First and foremost, want to give a shout out to Mr. Dennis in Texas. Dennis, we're actually just north of you. Sumit and I are both in Oklahoma. So fun to have you and everybody else jumping into the comments. As we move throughout this, please, guys, throw some questions in the chat. How this is going to work is Andrew's just going to kind of stop the presentation as we move throughout this. And so love to kind of address your questions throughout this or save some of them until the end. So with that said, let's start rocking and rolling. And let's walk through what we're going to be talking about today. And so it's apparent all across the board, whether you're in, especially if you're in a competitive market, that Google is becoming more and more competitive as time moves forward. So today we're going to be talking about 4 ROI-focused pillars that really need to be on your SEO checklist. So number 1, obviously the basics. We are assuming that you guys know the basics of SEO from an on and off page perspective. So we're going to do our best to kind of skim through number 1. But again, it is incredibly important to know the basics. As we move over here, we're going to be talking about website health. This has everything to do with your website's rapport with Google. Where are the holes in your foundation and how can we correct them? Because without correcting the foundation, the authority that we build on top of that foundation isn't going to be as valuable. And so we want to really seal up all the cracks across this foundation as we build that rapport and credibility with search engines. Now, across SEO, we're not only concerned with our rapport with Google, but another portion of it of SEO is also building that authority with users, right? Making sure that that user experience is as valuable as possible. And that comes across in multiple ways. So we want to be walking through that with you today. Those are our two main audiences. Number two, Google. And then number three, that user experience, really Google's customers. And then last of all, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about some AI tools and walking through Google's helpful content update and really what that means for individual businesses as well as agencies serving other businesses. So really, really fun stuff today. We are very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us today, Andrew. And I think with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. Summit, take it away, brother.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Andrew, for the quick introduction earlier. Hello, guys. I'm Sumit Gimire. I'm the founder of Outpace SEO Agency. And I want to add a few more things, before I actually go over the basics, just to kind of set up an expectation among, everyone who has been attending this webinar today. So in this webinar, we're going to expand upon the framework that we've used as a company to approach SEO in a highly competitive market, right? This is the exact framework we've used at Outpace to grow our business exponentially over the last 2 years. So as all of you might already know, a lot is changing in the SEO space, right? And a lot has also changed in the SEO space over the last few years. So what we've done as a business is we've built an SEO framework for our agency that will not only work today, but tomorrow as well, right? So we're basically trying to create something that's going to be, future-proof. So this approach can be very helpful if you're going to be doing any kind of client SEO, or if you're doing SEO in-house for a company that's in a competitive niche, right? So when we're working with our clients' websites, this is really how we go about analyzing, the current condition of the website and identifying where we're going to start, basically, to make sure that they start seeing ROI as we start working with them. So before we start, before we dive right into, the basics, there's one more thing that I would like to kind of ask you guys, just so that I'm aware of the attendees that we have in this webinar today, is what type of business do you run or are you guys working for, right? Be it industry, be it the type of business that you're working for. If you guys don't mind maybe sharing that in the comments, that would be great. While you guys do that, I'm just going to go over the basics at a very, very high level. Again, the purpose of this webinar is not to go over, the basics of SEO that most of us probably know, right? Doing the keyword research, making sure that we've got on-page optimization done on the website, making sure that we've got off-page optimization handled. Basically, we like to call this pillar the basics because, this is the bare minimum anyone should do to kind of make sure that their SEO campaign is headed in the right direction, right? So talking about the research, one of the things that we have to keep in mind, when we get to that phase is like, are we doing the keyword research, right? Do we have the right tools to do the keyword research? Are we optimizing, or are we doing the research across different pages that currently exist within the website, right? The research is going to be different from, the core pages or the products or service pages that you have on the website, compared to the resource kind of content that might exist on your website, right? So really depending on what type of website do you have, right? We got to make sure that research is properly implemented and we've got the right tools to make sure that the research is done correctly. The second item that we have on the basics is on-page optimization. Again, following back after the research and audit is done, making sure that we are actually implementing the on-page optimization efforts depending on what we've learned from the research and audit that was done across, across a website or a business. So making sure that we're optimizing the title tags, meta description, URLs, header tags, making sure that we're interlinking, basically, all the basic things that we would normally do for on-page optimization. We got to make sure that, that is taken care of as well. And on the off-page optimization side, right, we got to make sure that we still have some sort of backlink acquisition campaign running, right? Making sure that we're getting backlinks, high quality backlinks. The reason why we like to emphasize high quality backlinks is one high quality backlink can be better than, thousands of mid to low quality backlinks, right? So at Outpace, that is how we approach our, SEO campaign. Is we're not going after hundreds and hundreds of backlinks. We're going after those, really helpful, critical, high quality backlinks. brand mentions, digital PR, if you're in a local market, optimizing your Google My Businesses, social properties, citations, directory listings, the list goes on and on, right? So basically, these are the basic things that we've got to do to kind of optimize your website, right? And I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty familiar with this, which is why we don't want to cover a whole lot in regards to the basics in this webinar. However, if you guys have any questions in regards to the basics and how we approach any one of these items at Outpace, please let us know, and we'd be more than happy to kind of expand on that a little bit more. Chad, take it over.
Perfect. Very good. And Summit, do you mind covering this one as well?
Absolutely. So the second pillar that we have in here is the website health. One of the things, I'm actually looking at the comments right now. Everyone here is coming from like a different kind of background. Few people from here from SEO agency side, content marketing agency. That's pretty good. E-commerce. This will kind of give us a really good understanding of what kind of audience we have and how do we want to approach this webinar. So thank you so much, guys, for adding the comments. Another question that I have for you guys is, how many of you guys are actually, how many of you guys have some sort of, process in place that allows you to kind of check technical health of your website and have a process in place where you guys go in and kind of fix, the issues that currently exist within your website or your client's website, just out of curiosity? And as you guys answer that, I'm going to go over a couple of things that we have to keep in mind as we're going over this, second pillar of SEO, which is the website health. I cannot emphasize more on how important website health can be when you're working on a highly competitive market, especially when you have a website that has, thousands and thousands of pages, right? There are a lot of issues that might currently exist within your website, right? That we're not even aware of, right? Normally, if we don't have a process in place for us to track website health of a website, the only time we're going to find out if something is wrong, it's either when you're on the actual website, right? Going across different kind of pages and coming across an issue, be it 404 page, be it, like an image missing or something like that. Or it could be Google Search Console telling you guys like, hey, something is wrong within your website and you got to go in and kind of fix it, right? And oftentimes, Google is not going to tell you every single issue that they find on the website, right? They're getting better at how they report on some of these technical issues on the website, but they're still not there in regards to reporting on every single issues that might currently exist within your website. And this does not just apply to technical issues. This might also apply to SEO related issues, right? For example, if you've got multiple pages on the website that has similar titles and meta description and similar kind of content, right? Google's not going to tell you like, hey, you've got duplicate title or duplicate description or duplicate content on the website. They're just going to crawl your website. They're going to identify the quality of your website is not as high as they would like for it to be. And then that's basically lost credibility on your side of things, right? On the website side of things. So we have to make sure that we have something in place that allows us to, at times, whenever we like to actually crawl the website, right? That is constantly auditing and crawling the website and making sure that it's finding the issues that a search bot like Google or Yahoo or Bing can identify. We're identifying those issues before some of these search engines can even go ahead and identify those. So we got to make sure that we've got something in place to identify these kind of issues. And this is really something that I would highly suggest you guys look into, right? If you guys don't have something in place, again, it does not really matter what tools you guys utilize to, crawl some of these issues or identify some of these issues, right? At Outpace, we use SE ranking, and we've been super happy with how their audit tool works. So that's exactly what we use. And this screenshot right here on the right hand side is actually one of the screenshot from SE ranking. So let me actually go ahead and share my screen really quick, just to kind of give you guys like how easy it will be for you guys to even run an audit and basically identify some of these issues. All right. As you guys can see, this is just, we ran a quick audit on our own website. it gives us a quick score of, what the audit score looks like. And if you actually go to the issues, it's literally going to tell you like, hey, out of all these things, right, here are some of the issues that might exist on the website, right? Looking at the errors, we have no errors on the website as of right now. But if we wanted to even go further and start fixing some of the warnings on the website, this is where we would go and kind of fix those warnings as well. Just wanted to share this really quick as a tool that can allow you guys to actually go ahead and audit your website and make sure that you're not only identifying the issues, but you're also knowing like how exactly can each one of those issues be fixed across your website. So we got to make sure that that has been properly taken care of on the website health side of things. Again,
Thanks for the plug.
One more thing that I would love to add in here, apart from crawling the website and identifying the issues, is how much of an impact can something like this have on Google or users that are coming to the website, right? On the user side of things, it's either, if it's a missing image or broken pages or, slow page, those are kind of like the things that could impact the user, right? Which is, again, going to have an impact on your core web vital score. However, on the search bot side of things, right, the trust that we're trying to build with search engines, that's a very bad reputation that we're building with Google, and we got to make sure that we're cleaning and making sure that we're building a good reputation with Google, and and we're basically fixing these issues as we move forward. So I cannot emphasize more on how important this can be, especially when you're working on highly competitive markets. Chad, let's jump over to the next slide.
Perfect. And Andrew, did you have something to add right there?
No, I was just saying thank you for the plug, because you were showing off the website audit, our website audit. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And just as a side note, everybody, we actually walk through a lot of these things inside of some of our, we actually walk through some of these errors with some of our potential customers. And this really helps us build rapport in two different ways with customers. Either they're using something like HubSpot and they know a lot of these errors already exist. And so it's kind of confirmation that we know what we're talking about and we're prioritizing, or we would prioritize the necessary efforts inside of an SEO campaign. And then the other thing it does is, if they're not aware of these things, it's kind of an eye opener. And so definitely, for those agencies that are listening, just starting to incorporate some of this information is definitely going to help you close more deals on a consistent basis. So just wanted to share that. All right, we've talked about building rapport with Google with regards to website health and how that can impact user experience. So let's shift over and just focus on that second half, which is the user experience. What are some of the things that we look for with regards to user experience? And the big idea here is, how can we enhance engagement with a page, right? If a user finds, whether it's us or a customer on Google, as they click through that organic result, we want that person to be engaged with that page. We want that person to receive value, spend as much time on site as possible, because in the end, that's communicating to Google that this is a relevant organic result, right? And so that builds up our authority, or our clients' authority as a whole. And so let's start to walk through this. Just at large, what we're talking about is providing customers or website visitors with relevant, valuable content. Also showcasing credibility across a lot of across the website, the individual service pages, whatever that may be, as well as what are users doing on the website? What's that user behavior looking like? And so let's just kind of jump back up to the top with regards to relevant content. The big thing here is value. How can we be, whatever that user is searching for, how can we meet them inside of their search, right? How can we take what they're inquiring about and provide them with double, if not triple, what they're expecting? And so some of the ways that we do that is by incorporating videos to piggyback off of some of these services, inquiries. Another big thing that we do as an agency is we put a heavy emphasis on FAQs, not just addressing what the topic may be, but what are a lot of those questions surrounding that topic as a whole. With regards to some of our customers, one of the big things we focus on is also what makes you different than your competitors, and how can we make that shine all throughout the website, because something that's very important to keep in mind across all of these different pages is website visitors, they aren't all entering through the homepage. And so what you have to think across all these different pages is, what does the user experience look like if they come in through this door? I like to think of every single page as a different door. And so if a user is coming to the website from all different angles, how can we make sure that we're portraying that competitive advantage consistently all throughout the entire website? Credibility. This kind of leans into credibility as well. One of the big things we focus on are client reviews. And this is going to differ from customer to customer with regards to what platform is the most relevant for their industry. So for instance, for us, we put a little bit of emphasis on Google My Business, but then we put a huge emphasis on Clutch, G2, so on and so forth. And so a little bit of this is kind of knowing your audience, whether you're doing it for your own business or you're doing it for someone else's. It's very important to kind of keep those platforms in mind. And I would say kind of prioritize them as such. In addition to that, it's always very, very important to showcase any sort of awards, accreditations, associations, different things like that. For instance, let's say that someone is searching for, let's go with a foundation repair company, right? What we want to do is build up as much credibility as possible, right? There's a reason why someone is searching for a random foundation repair company. They're looking to get connected with someone they've never met before. And so if we can kind of meet that user in their experience and showcase to them, really put our best foot forward, they're more likely to trust us, right? And so credibility is a huge portion right through here. And that takes us over to user behavior. So as you're starting to rank your business or a client's business, it's incredibly important to identify, what are users doing on the website? How are they behaving? What are they clicking on? Not only what are they seeing, but what are they not seeing? And how does that impact the overall user experience? So let's take a look at our website. Here are some of the questions that we like to ask as we continue to massage and work on our website as well as our client websites. So we'll just start over here on the left-hand side, call to action. So we've got a few call to actions with regards to these free consultations throughout here. And so first and foremost, are the visitors seeing the call to action? Are they clicking it? And then taking a deep dive even further, like we use Calendly. And so are there open time slots? Are there a significant number of open time slots for people to book? You know, if there are only 3 time slots across the next, week or so, that's really, really bad. We want to be flexible across time zones so that we can have more consultations with people that are in need of our services. One of the big things that we learned about our business by using different software, for instance, we utilize Hotjar to identify the different heat maps across our website. One of the big things we realized was that case studies this is probably the most clicked link on our website. So despite how people enter the website, this is typically their first click after they explore that initial page. And so that led us to start to question internally, how can we make both the case study page as well as all the child pages, all of the individual case studies, how can we make that more relevant to our visitors, right? And so throughout that process, what we did was we did some industry research. We identified what other SEO companies were including in their case studies. And then we turned around and we asked, okay, how does this resonate with our current client base? What are the things that they're looking for? And kind of based on all of that data, we merged together what we believe is a phenomenal case study template for our website. And so very important to identify what your users are doing on your website and where you can actually spend valuable time maximizing, I would say, like the overall efficiency or ROI associated with your website. I just wanted to kind of outline what we do for credibility. Right through here, you'll see that we've actually combined a lot of different platforms and even an award to really showcase our credibility all in one row. And so I think this is a really effective way of communicating our credibility. Again, where would your clients or website visitors expect to see these reviews? How do your reviews look? And what I mean by that is, are they 5.0? Are they 4.9? Are they a 3? Obviously, if they're a 3, it's something you want to massage and spend some time putting forward some reputation management towards before you start to showcase things like that. The last thing associated with credibility in these different platforms is it's not just about that average rating. I can't stress this enough, especially when people are jumping to the organic search. A few different things they're looking at. They are looking for the average rating, but it's very, very important to note total reviews are very important, as well as recency. If someone clicks inside and they start to inspect some of these reviews, and the last review was left, let's say 18 months ago, a year and a half ago, that user may start to question, is this company still in business? And so I can't stress enough, it's not just about, hey, let's get a 5-star average rating. Hey, let's have, 50, 100 reviews, but let's keep that process going. Recency is incredibly, incredibly important. The last thing that I want to mention is just that industry expertise. So I just want to encourage all of you to really go beyond just your industry and see what you can do to contribute to other businesses and be that industry leader. And so we do that across both Entrepreneur as well as Forbes, not only talking about digital marketing, but business as a whole. And that's something that's definitely benefited us as a business. Before I shift over, do you have anything to add to the user behavior?
No, I think you probably hit on, a lot of points that we wanted to hit on. One more thing that I would like to add in here is, I'm guessing everyone kind of knows how important Core Web Vitals can be these days, especially for, businesses that are in a highly competitive market, right? And again, user experience ties back into, that Core Web Vital score as well, right? If you want to improve your Core Web Vital score, you got to, keep in mind about each and every one of these things that we just, went over.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful.
Perfect. Let's talk about Core Web Vitals a little bit. So how many of you guys are, aware of what Core Web Vital is and how important it can be for businesses? And is there anyone in here that does not know what Core Web Vital means? I want to make sure that I know, what the audience looks like, just so that I don't, expand upon something that everyone kind of knows already.
Yeah, there's just a short delay, so in about 5 seconds, we'll see the responses.
Got it. No
Perfect.
worries. As everyone's responding to that question, I'm going to go over a couple of things in here across the Core Web Vitals, how important it can be for businesses in a highly competitive market. So the first one that we have in here is increasing engagement, right? If we want to improve our Core Web Vital score, right, there are certain things that we have to work on. There are 3 things that Core Web Vitals is built upon: LCP, FID, and then CLS, right? So LCP is basically a metric that tracks, page load speed, right? FID is basically a metric that tracks the time it takes before someone interacts with the page. And then CLS is basically a metric that tracks visual stability on the page, right? If you're handling each one of these things properly, right, you're going to pass your Core Web Vital test score. And as you pass that, right, we actually ran a test about a year ago, something like that. We did a quick case study on our client's website. So what we did was, there were quite a few websites that were passing the Core Web Vital score, and there were quite a few websites that were not passing the Core Web Vital score. So what we decided to do as a company is we decided to kind of focus on Core Web Vital for the next 2 months, right? That's our number one focus across all of our clients. So we worked on Core Web Vitals, and one of the really, really cool stats that we found after optimizing 28 websites across different niche, different industries was, the engagement rate actually increased by 37%. We have a link to our case study, in this slide as well, if you guys are interested to kind of learn more about what kind of issues did we come across and how exactly did we overcome some of those issues, right? We're going to add a link to this slide where you can actually go in and kind of identify the steps that we took to kind of overcome the Core Web Vital related issues on the website. The other three stats here are actually directly from Google that we wanted to kind of point out. It's not just about, increasing the engagement on the website. It's also about improving the conversions. It's also about improving the rankings and so on and so forth, right? Just improving the engagement without actually improving the conversions is not going to provide a business with ROI, right? So Core Web Vital not only goes into, the increased engagement, but it also goes into the higher conversions and obviously the improved rankings that we're going to see after, optimizing a website for speed, different kind of issues, so on and so forth. So I cannot emphasize enough on how important Core Web Vital can be, especially for, enterprise level businesses, because those are the type of businesses that we personally have noticed that they're failing, by a large, by a large mark, right? So we got to make sure that this is something that we take care of before even diving into the, the basics of SEO, right? Because if we're not building our foundation strong, right, it will be very, very difficult for us to kind of rank a website in a highly competitive market with just doing the basics of SEO, if that makes sense. So if you guys have any questions in regards to Core Web Vitals, please let us know.
Yeah, I did want to jump in because we actually do have a question about the impact of Core Web Vitals on ROI and how does this conversation go with clients?
Absolutely. That's a really good question. So how we like to, measure Core Web Vitals ROI with our customers is we have to make sure that all the analytics and tracking is properly put in place before you start working on a client website, right? The first thing that we do on our, new onboarded client's website is we make sure that we're putting tracking and analytics in place, right? So for example, if we onboarded, let's say, data security SaaS company today, right? The first thing that we ask them during the introductory call is like, hey, are you guys tracking how you guys are generating leads? Are you guys tracking conversions? And if that's something that they're not doing today, right, you don't want to jump right into doing the SEO, because after you actually optimize the website and improve the rankings and started generating more leads, you cannot necessarily track exactly what type of improvement you've made on that website, right? So the first step of onboarding any customer is to make sure that you have analytics and tracking in place. You've got, proper form fields, tracking in place. You've got, if there is a number that's tied to every single conversion that happens on the website, right? We got to make sure that there is a process in place that allows you guys to kind of track that ROI for your customers. So that, down the road, once you work on, let's say, the basics, right, you're going to see the ROI, right, based on the number of increased leads that you're seeing on the website, right? And let's say after the first 6 months, you decided like, hey, let's now focus on something like Core Web Vital, right? You have a, average cost of, what that per lead looked like in the past, over the past 6 months, right? And after implementing something like Core Web Vital optimization or something, right, you can then track, hey, did the rankings improve, right? If the rankings improved, did the leads improve, right? And if the leads improved, what did those improved number of leads look like? And that ultimately gives you, what does that improvement in, ROI looks like? So again, it's not going to be a very straightforward ROI calculation, but, if you're doing the math from the get-go, as soon as you onboard a client, right, that's going to make it so much easier for you guys to, calculate the ROI, because, you don't want to be in a situation where, you've done all the work for this client over the past, 12 months, 14 months, 2 years, and then you're trying to identify how much improvement we've made, and it's really difficult for you to kind of identify that. So making sure that you have something in place before you actually start doing SEO work, and then actually start optimizing your website, and then that will allow you to measure ROI on not only Core Web Vitals, but across different kind of things that you might be doing on the SEO optimization side of things.
Yep.
Great. Thank you for the detailed answer. I hope this helps Roberta. And we also have another follow-up about the information that is up on the slide already. The 1.3 increase in conversion, is that for hard conversions or soft conversions or average overall?
That's a really good question. That was actually for average overall conversions. And again, there's a very detailed case study about this conversion. This was not a conversion, this was not a case study for our client. This was actually a case study that we saw on, Google's Core Web Vital, page. So if you guys want to dive details into, what exactly was measured, for that conversion, the Google reference link on this slide is actually something that can take you there. But yes, that was for overall conversions.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing I would like to reiterate is just document, document, document. So one of the big things we've started to document as we're onboarding clients is document their original page speed across mobile and desktop as you're onboarding these people. And then also document whether Core Web Vitals is passing or failing across both of these, both mobile and desktop. And so what this is going to do is really show the customer the difference between where they started and where they ended up, as you continue to take steps to improve both of these methods. And again, obviously the Google page speed, that's something that you're going to be able to, make changes, test, make changes and test. But this Core Web Vitals, I believe it looks at a span of 28 days. And again, it really depends on the website's overall traffic. And so you're not going to get that, I would say, like instant feedback like you're used to with page speed. And so Core Web Vitals may be more of a, hey, let's make a few changes, let's wait. Let's make a few changes, let's wait. And so just be patient on this Core Web Vitals, but I can't stress enough, document these original scores or these original values such as pass or fail, and then also document what you're doing all throughout the process. That's something that our clients have really, really appreciated, and I think it's really been able to help us with retention. Summit, do you have anything to add to this? I think we're good to go, man.
We're good to go. Let's jump over to the next slide.
Beautiful.
All right. Next, we have Google Helpful Content Update. This is not necessarily a pillar on our framework, but the reason why we wanted to kind of add this on this slide instead of just content is because this is a hot topic right now, and everyone's trying to figure out what the heck happened and what exactly are we supposed to do in regards to this update to combat Google, right? So one of the things that I want to emphasize, as I'm talking about Google Helpful Content Update is Google has always been updating their algorithm to, give more credit towards better content, right? There is a saying, content is king, right? There's a reason behind why content is still the king, right? If you don't have a good content on the website today, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for you guys to rank that website, especially if you're in a highly competitive market, right? So again, I want to emphasize that don't get in this world of like, hey, Google just rolled out this Google Helpful Content Update, so now I've got to make sure that our content is good. Back in the days, it was important. It's just more important today. And then when you actually look at things and how Google is headed into the future, it's going to be even more important into the future. So I just want to mention that whatever you guys are doing for content, please make sure that you have a good process in place to kind of combat low quality content related issues that we're seeing across hundreds and hundreds of websites these days, especially after, tools like AI came into play, right? So what we're going to be going over today is how to utilize some of these tools, right? And make sure that, we are not creating low quality content as we even, utilize some of these tools. So before we dive into the AI tools, I want to go over some of the methods that I personally have done in the past as a company, and what used to work, and now if we implemented something like that, what would happen, right? So this was about like 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. We built a platform that allowed us to spin up pages. Okay. And when I say spin up pages, we're talking about like, I would provide our system with like one piece of content, and our system would basically generate thousands of pages, city specific pages with the same content by replacing the title, meta description, a little bit of copy with, replacing the city or state that you're located in, right? So for example, we were doing this for, car wrap company, right? So we decided to, roll this out for Oklahoma. So our company is based in Oklahoma, and we just decided to kind of test this out on one of our properties, right? So we bought a domain, we built the system. We were like, okay, let's turn on this bad boy and see, what happens once we generate thousands of pages across Oklahoma, right? And this was like, I honestly can't remember when exactly it was, about 7, 8 years ago, something like that. We built about, I would say over 2,000 pages over a period of like 2 days, right? And we took the website live, And over the next like 7 or 8 days, something like that, our website was already ranking on the first page across multiple cities, right? Low quality content, just changed the title, meta description, a little bit of copy, and we were ranking on the first page across the board, right? If you were to ask me where that website is today, we've actually like discontinued that website completely because it was eventually penalized by Google, and we were not, we were doing things that Google is against doing, right? So the lesson that we learned from that project was like, you don't want to do anything that's going to piss Google off, right? And what people are doing these days is like they're like, hey, let me buy this AI tool that's going to allow me to spin up content, and I'm just going to publish without giving it the time and attention that it actually requires, right? So Chad, do you want to expand upon the AI tools just a little bit here?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So with these AI tools, obviously there's a trade-off, right? It's very clear that you're able to quickly create content. However, the con would be the lack of quality associated with these AI tools and the content that's being generated. And so you're kind of rolling the dice every single time you're trying to get an article created. And so there's a huge lack of quality all throughout here. And so we would highly encourage you not to just utilize these AI tools, copy, paste, throw it into a post or throw it into a service page. There's more work that needs to be done. You can't just fully rely on these AI tools by any means. Another thing that I would like to reiterate is, much like Summit said, in the past, one of the things he had done was he created thousands and thousands of pages. I would suggest you do not go crazy with the overall number of pages. It's very, very important. We can't stress this enough, that valuable quality content is really the direction that Google is headed. And so we want to do our best to make sure that our site, as well as our client sites, are also headed in that same direction. Over the past month, we've actually started working with another agency, and we are actually white labeling our services. And they have about, I think, 20 to 30 service pages on their website doing this exact same thing. So here over the next month or so, that's when we're going to have them actually go in, correct, recreate those pages with unique content to make sure that we don't have duplicate content across all of these pages. So I can't stress it enough. Quality matters. And with that said, let's jump over to really some AI tools or a tool.
I want to actually, yeah, there was a question about like how does Google measure quality content? Like, is it time on page, interaction, maybe something else?
That's a really good question. So yes, time on page is definitely a signal that goes to that tells Google like how helpful is a content whenever a user lands on the page, right? How in depth are the users scrolling when they actually get to the page, right? For example, if they go to the page and if they're just like on the first section of the page, and if they're not scrolling down, that's a bad signal to Google that tells them like, okay, the content is not as engaging as they would like for it to be, right? And there are a few other factors that goes into it as well, right? For example, like, is the content that you've written, right, is that a unique content, right? Is there any other websites out there that do a better job of explaining this content in depth, that have higher user engagement, on their website, right? And if you're doing a better job than some of these other websites, right, eventually you're going to get higher and higher on, on the ranking side of things. So making sure that your content is unique, right? There isn't hundreds and thousands of websites that are talking about the same topic, because if you write content about a topic that hundreds and thousands of companies are talking about, then you're basically putting in a spot where you're competing against most likely some really, really big companies out there, right? And it's going to be very, very difficult for you guys, especially if you're just starting up, or if you have not been in business for a long time, for your website to rank on the top of the search results. So if you want to go against some of those larger websites, there's a lot of things that we have to keep in mind, right? The first thing is obviously the quality of content, making sure that the content that you're generating is very, very in-depth, right? And the user engagement, how you've structured the content, is very easy for users to kind of navigate, right? Making sure that you're using listicles, right? Wherever it's possible, making sure that you've separated the paragraphs by using multiple header tags and so on and so forth, right? There are multiple ways that you can use to optimize a post on the conversion side of things to kind of improve user engagement on the website, that will eventually, help you rank better and, obviously send better signals to Google. So yes, all of those things.
All right.
Really good question. Very good
Yeah,
question.
we're also on the sorry for cutting you off, guys, but we're also on the topic of plagiarism, and we also have a question about that. So we found 4 spam sites, FIFA live streams, that scraped our entire site, medical, and published it as their own content behind JavaScript. Do you think this had an impact on helpful content?
Interesting. So you guys found 4 spam sites that scraped our entire medical and published it on their own content behind JavaScript. What do you think? You think this had an impact on helpful content? This is really interesting. I think there are a couple of things that we got to keep in mind. There's going to be spammers out there like all the time, right? If you actually throw in your website inside of, SE ranking, Ahrefs, whatever, what kind of tools, you're going to come across multiple backlinks that you've never built, right? That still exist, that people are constantly creating backlinks for, right? So think of this as like spam work is always going to be there, right? However, is this something that you have to be concerned about? And the answer to this question is it really depends on, where your website currently stands, right? Is your website fairly new, or has it been in business for a long time, right? So if your website has been in business for a long time and, it has been live for, let's say, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be, right? The likelihood of Google thinking that, hey, this is a bad signal for that website is very, very low, right? Because you've already built trust with Google. Google already knows what kind of content you serve on your website, and they've most likely crawled every single page on your website, if you've optimized your website properly, right? On the other hand, if the website is fairly new, proper SEO optimization was not done previously, and Google does not necessarily know what kind of content currently exists within the website, and and they come across this spammy website, and they come across this actual website, right? They're going to have a really hard time identifying like which one is actual real content versus which one is bad content, right? So it really depends on where exactly your website currently stands in relationship with Google, right? And if you have that trust that has already been built with Google, and let's say you're already ranking organically for like 10, 20, 50, 100 terms, right? The chances of your website being penalized is like little to none. I wouldn't even bother about something like that, because like I said, Google's combating these, spammy websites, spammy people that have been in place, yesterday. They're here today, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be here tomorrow as well. So I wouldn't focus on something like that. It's completely normal.
Yep.
Yeah, great answer. You didn't say it depends a single time, just because this is the most obvious way to reply to these things. Okay, guys, so let's continue, because we still have time, and possibly take 5 minutes for a Q&A if we can make it.
Beautiful. So let me run through this. I'm sure you guys have seen something like this before. This is just an AI tool in action. So here's the topic that I provided the tool, and then here is the output. So I think the output, it sounds good. As just with regards to it makes sense, right? It looks like quality content. But one of the things that I can't stress enough is please read everything that's written. Please rewrite and massage this content if you are using AI tools. I can't stress that enough. And then obviously plagiarism is another very, very big portion of this. And so double check. As what's happening is these AI tools are scraping the internet. They're trying to understand content and then turn around and regurgitate it. Every once in a while, there's going to be an entire sentence that is used word for word, and it's just borrowing it. And so I can't stress this enough. These plagiarism scores can vary from tool to tool, but always run it through a plagiarism checker. I know we're running short on time. So Andrew, do you have a plagiarism question, or should we kind of wrap up this battle?
Oh, that was the question about the 4 spam sites. That was
beautiful.
So, yeah.
So if you are using an AI tool, reread the content, edit it, massage it as necessary, and then please walk through that plagiarism. Be sure and double check all of that work. We can't stress that enough. So do you mind kind of giving everybody just an overview of what we just walked through?
Absolutely. So here are the questions that we ask internally when we're working with our clients, right? If you have each one of these things in place, and if you are confident about answering these, questions, that, you have a process in place and you're confident about the optimization efforts, right? 99% of the times, your website is going to rank well. You're going to have higher traffic coming to your website, and Google's going to love your website, right? One thing that I do want to mention is it's not going to be as easy as just checking these items as like, hey, this is done, this is done, this is done, right? Even though there might be something in here that let's take the fourth question as an example, right? Is the user experience good, right? You might think it's good, but is the user experience better across your competitor's website, right? That is the follow-up question that you got to ask when you're answering that question, right? So don't think of these, checklist as like, hey, all of these look good. We've done every single items from this list and we're good to go, right? Dive a little bit deeper into each one of these questions on asking yourself, like, is there anything more that we can do across these items, right? And if the answer is like maybe, then we got to dive a little bit deeper into those kind of questions and identify what exactly can be done, right? So this is the checklist that we've created internally for our team. We go over these checklists, with every single client of ours to kind of make sure that we're not only covering the basics when we're working on SEO, but we're also covering different kind of things that Google these days are, it's prioritizing those kind of things, right? Everything that has to do with the website health, everything that has to do with the user experience, everything that has to do with, how well the content has been laid out. And obviously the basics of SEO is definitely something that we want to go over as well. Again, this is something that we're going to pass on over to you guys, after this webinar. If you guys have any questions in regards to, everything that we covered and either, any one of these checklists, you can either, connect with us through our website, or you can just send us an email directly if you want, any further explanation on any of these items. We're more than happy to kind of expand on these.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, guys, before we get to the Q&A, we just wanted to offer you guys a couple different things here. So if you're interested, we would love to do an SEO and website audit. Just go to our website. You'll see a link to the free consultation. Across this SEO and website audit, these are the three things that we focus on. So we put together some keyword research, identifying the overall opportunity. We put together a competitive analysis, identifying where a company currently ranks in comparison to their competitors. And then we're really walking through the technical aspect of where are we losing rapport with Google. Sumit and I have been doing this for over a decade now, working all across small to enterprise level companies. One of our current customers is actually in the Fortune 500. So not only do we have customers here inside of the US, but also outside of the US. And so wherever you're at, whether you're a business maybe you've plateaued and you're looking for some direction and some help, reach out to us. Or if you're an agency and you're looking for somebody, you're just not getting results with your current white label SEO provider, hit us up. We love to work with you. In addition to this free SEO and website audit, we're happy to do this for anybody here today. Please just mention SE ranking. And then for the first 3 businesses, whether it be a business or an agency, to actually sign up for SEO, we're actually going to offer a 1 month free of SEO. Again, that's no commitment. You don't have to sign a 6, 12, 24 month commitment, anything like that. This is just our way of kind of putting our money where our mouth is, you know what I mean? And putting our best foot forward. Yeah. So we really appreciate you guys jumping in here today. I think with that said, what questions do you guys have for us?
Yeah, we had one question that's been waiting for a while, and it sort of really lines up well with your offer. How can a solid, useful 15-year-old blog take things to the next level?
Absolutely. That's a pretty good question. And, that's great that you've got a 15-year-old blog and you're trying to take it to the next level, right? Anything that has to do with content related, right? You got to treat the website in such a way that, everything is optimized from a content perspective, right? For example, it depends on what kind of niche you're in, right? So let's say if you're in the health niche, or let's say you're in the general niche, right? Just to kind of make it a little bit broader and answer some of your questions. So let's say you're in the general niche where you're writing topics about different kind of things, right? How I would potentially move forward with that project is, how can you actually start ranking for a lot of these long tail keywords, right? And the reason why I say focus more on long tail keywords first is because there's a lot of ROI opportunity off the gate if you actually go after a lot of these long-term keywords, right? The competition is low. There's going to be better chances for you to kind of rank on the organic side of things. And that also opens up the door, with Google, with building that trust with Google, right? Because if you're going after, let's say topics that are very broad and that's going to be, highly competitive, you're basically, trying to optimize something that's going to most likely take you 12 months to get it on the first page, right? But if you're working on topics and, let's say long tail keywords, optimizing your website for those kind of things, the chances of you getting those, even if it's like less traffic, right? The chances of you getting those traffic is much higher, right? So think of that as like getting your first step to Google Store, right? Like just making sure that you're making that introduction with Google and making sure that you're serving content that they're going to like, right? The people who are actually coming from Google are going to like. So first step is to, again, focus on the long tail keywords. The second thing that I would focus on is, making sure that the user experience is great, especially for content, right? I cannot emphasize enough on how important user experience can be, right? That time on site kind of deal. So however you're structuring your content, make sure that it's going to engage people who are coming to your website. If you have even though, you have a 15-year-old website, and if people come to your website and they're like leaving instantly once they come to your website because the content has not been, properly structured, or it's difficult for them to kind of navigate the content, it's a bulk of paragraph, let's say 5-10 paragraphs without any subheadings, or, without any bulleted points of what exactly the article is going to cover about, it's going to be very difficult for you to improve your user engagement. So thinking about the users and making sure that you're constantly, engaging users that are coming to your website is going to be very important. And then, the third thing that I would also focus on is like the schema markup, right? For any kind of content related, website, I highly recommend implementing schema, because, then you have chances of being, featured in the rich snippets, right? If you have a really good content without even implementing schema, you have chances of being in the rich snippets, right?
Yeah.
But if you have properly, schema markup implemented, you have even more chances of being featured in the rich snippets. So those are kind of like the basics that I would do. Again, it goes back into how well is your website structured, right? What does the architecture of your blog look like? How are the topic clusters, properly, are they properly optimized, or how exactly are they organized on the website, right? Limiting the number of topics that you're trying to go after with your blog, right? Making sure that you're properly optimizing the title tags, meta description, and you're also keep making sure that the URLs are properly optimized, right? And interlinking, again, is a big thing that you got to keep in mind, especially when you're working with a website that has a lot of content. So again, I might have missed a few, here and there, but, those are kind of like, the things that I would focus on, first before diving into, like, let's say, backlinks or any of the other stuffs, right? So we got to make sure that the foundation is properly set up before you dive more into those kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And one more thing I'd like to piggyback off of, and I agree with Summit. A lot of our larger enterprise clients get their mind in the space of like, we have to come out with a new blog every week, every 2 weeks, whatever that may be, whatever that may look like. But the fact of the matter is, this whole thing should be from an ROI perspective. And so if that's our perspective, maybe the next step is let's go back and let's revise and update some content that already exists. And so I can't stress that enough, just kind of getting out of that mindset of we have to do this, we have to do this. Just kind of adjust your focus to ROI and rankings. That's going to help.
Yeah, thanks for the detailed answer, guys. We're going to take, I think, one more question and then finish things off. So I'm wondering how dynamic content or personalization affects SEO.
Absolutely. This is a pretty interesting question. Really good question, to be honest. Dynamic content is going to have some sort of effect on SEO, especially, as Google came up with the Core Web Vital, thing. And, I think CLS is probably the metric that, dynamic content kind of impacts, right? If you're using any kind of dynamic content on the website, it's going to negatively impact CLS. But that does not necessarily mean that, you should not be using dynamic content, right? So the only instance that I would say you have to use something like dynamic content is to measure, like, does page A work better or B, right? Let's say if A is working better, right, from a user engagement standpoint, that's a plus point, right? And you got to make sure that that becomes your primary page long term. You don't just want to serve dynamic content, and ever-ending, never-ending dynamic content. You don't want to do that, is basically what I would suggest. So making sure that you're properly testing things out and learning from those tests and implementing a static page is what I would recommend. Again, Google is kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily directly against dynamic content, but because they negatively impact your core web vital score, I wouldn't recommend doing that, long term.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I just hate to leave one person with one question unanswered. So this is the last one we're going to take for sure. And if you could just maybe keep it like short. So is there any benefit to having a bilingual or multilingual site in the eyes of Google or SEO?
Absolutely. We actually have a couple of clients that have, their website in multiple languages, right? So there's a lot of benefit that you can get out of it, especially when you're serving different language, content. For example, let's say if you're trying to serve content to users in US and Canada, right? Most likely having two different, bilingual website is not necessarily going to, get you much more ROI, right? Like it's a lot of time and effort, and maybe, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time there. However, if the content is different, let's say if your website is about legal, it's a legal website, right? You're providing, suggestions on how to, handle a certain scenario or cases or whatever it might be, right? The laws in the US is going to be different than the laws in Canada, right? So for something like that, we would highly suggest, like, yes, create a bilingual website, make sure that, the content for the US is siloed for the US location, the content for the Canada is siloed for the Canadian location. And also, like, if you've got one product that you're trying to, like, market across multiple countries, right? It's 100% okay to create multilingual sites, but the only instance I would do it is if the actual language is different, right? Something different than English. That's the only instance where I would suggest spending the time and resource, because if you're actually going to be spending time and resource into building a site for both the US and Canada, where the content is the same, the audience is very similar, right? I would rather invest the time and energy into optimizing your website rather than focusing more on creating two different versions of the website.
Beautiful. And Andrew, one more thing really quick. Tris, I see that you can't find the link on the website. For those of you interested, at the top right of our website, you'll just see free consultation. You guys are more than welcome to jump inside of there and then just jump through this Calendly, schedule a time for us to chat. And then once we jump on a call, just mention SE ranking. We'll get you guys taken care of.
All right, awesome. So that is what I wanted to just to refer to the offer again, because I saw the confusion. So just mention SE ranking, and also we have a couple of offers on our end. So you can, if you haven't tried out SE ranking yet, you can take advantage of the extended free trial. So here's the QR code that you can scan, and we'll send you the presentation as well as the replay. You can catch it on YouTube, or we'll email the link of the replay to your inbox as well. Then we also have. Sorry, one sec. We also have an SEO basics course. So if you feel that you're not keeping up to pace with all the SEO talk that has been happening today, and you want to up your game, we have an SEO basics course that will show you all the different starting points, so that you won't be surprised by all the different terms that you hear in SEO. And if you sign up for SEO ranking, the access to the course is free. And just also be sure to sign up to our Facebook community, where we have a lot of different users, and we also participate in all the discussions there. So whenever there's not a webinar and you need help, you can always refer to our community. So be sure to sign up to that and check out our YouTube, because we have a lot of different how-to videos about SEO ranking, about SEO in general, and just different talks with experts of different fields. So once again, I want to thank Sumit and Chad for doing this with us. This was really great. There's so much information, and you guys are also giving out free consultations. I mean, the answers that you gave here were more than I could hope for a lot of our viewers. So thank you definitely for providing so much information in depth. And I hope it was clear to our viewers. And just in case you have any questions for our guests, you can always reach out to them via their website. And you can always reach out to us via all the different methods that you can see up on the screen, or through the website, or through the platform.
Beautiful.
So good luck to everyone in terms of out performing their competitors. Definitely a lot of work goes into that, as you guys can see. So yeah, just good luck to everyone, and do the work, and don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and dive deep into everything.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for having us,
Thank you
Andrew.
so much,
We
Andrew.
appreciate it.
Guys, thanks, Chad. Thanks, Sumit. Take care, guys.